KFI, Mr. Bo Kelly. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we were telling you about FireAid, the benefit concert, before it was even FireAid. We gave you the lowdown on how names and groups would be added to the slate. We told you the behind the scenes of all the different machinations which would be moving outside of your view. But it's almost here. And FireAid is coming up on Thursday, this Thursday, January 30th, beginning at, well, it depends on the venue, but both 6 and 7 p.m., depending on the venue. I'm talking about the Intuit Dome and the Kia Forum. The Intuit Dome, the lineup has been pretty much solidified, but there may be some other artists who will be added at the last second. Billie Eilish, Gracie Abrams, Lil Baby, shout out to Mark Ronner. Good evening.
Hello, Mo.
Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Olivia Rodrigo, Stevie Wonder, Sting, and more. And that's just the Intuit Dome. At the Kia Forum, you have Alanis Morissette, Green Day, Dave Matthews and John Mayer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, No Doubt, Pink, and more. And better yet, let's say you can't attend in person. You can always listen to the broadcast on the iHeartRadio app. And it will, as far as terrestrial radio, it will be broadcast on all of our Southern California music stations, talking about Kiss FM, Alt 98.7, 104.3 My FM, Real 92.3, Coast. You can't miss it. And also, you can see it online. We will tell you about all that. There's so much more to tell you about this concert later on. We'll give you this information throughout the evening. But also coming up on tonight's show, we got to talk to you about how Governor Gavin Newsom has tapped Magic Johnson, Casey Wasserman, and others to lead the philanthropic LA Fire Recovery Initiative. Famous LA donut chain introducing the FireAid donut. And Starbucks is back in the news. Starbucks staff has been given a panic button for laptop lurkers who won't leave. We told you recently how you can't loiter at Starbucks anymore. They're not going to let you just hang out and have your meetings and just hang out and abuse the internet like I used to do back in the day. You're going to have to actually buy something and buy something frequently or they're going to kick you out. And now they've implemented another measure to make sure you don't stay. Does Starbucks just want bad news? Bad publicity? Do they want it? It seems like they do. We'll talk about that. And at the top of the next hour, I'll be joined online by a very special guest, Carl McNair. He is the older brother of the late Ronald McNair, Dr. Ronald McNair, who perished 39 years ago today aboard Challenger flight STS-51L. Maybe you're not old enough to remember the Challenger disaster. It changed the trajectory of NASA and space exploration. It changed American history and more. And we're going to talk to someone who has a degree of insight few do. Carl McNair is going to join us on the show to talk about his younger brother, Ronald McNair, who perished as part of the 7 astronauts who died 39 years ago today. Do you remember where you were, Mark Ronner? I do.
No, I actually don't. Where were you?
I was a junior in high school, and I was actually leaving my Spanish class with Mr. Peterson, and Mr. Peterson made the announcement that the Challenger blew up, and we thought he was joking because he was a jokester. He would always like to play pranks on us, and we think, Space Shuttle didn't blow up. I mean, and this, if you're not old enough to remember, this is pre-internet, so we didn't have the flow of information that we could just validate at a moment's notice. We didn't take him seriously, not anyone in the class. I was walking to my AP English class with Doc Elliott. That was the teacher's name, Dr. Elliott. And then other students started confirming it. Then we rolled in a TV. You know how they used to roll in a TV to the classrooms?
With the AV nerd, yes.
Absolutely. Which took another 20, 30 minutes. And then we began watching coverage of it. Because back then, CNN was around, but there wasn't anything else other than broadcast television news for the most part. And we had to wait until we could get a TV in the classroom to really understand the magnitude and gravity of the moment. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it wasn't 39 years ago today, the Challenger disaster. So much more coming up on later with Mo Kelly. Keep it right here. KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And now we can actually start having the conversation as we move out of the crisis of the fires and into the recovery. Governor Gavin Newsom today tapped Magic Johnson, Casey Wasserman, Mark Walter to lead this philanthropic LA Fire Recovery Initiative. And it's going to be called LA Rises. And it's supposed to bring together business leaders to work with city, county, and state officials to support rebuilding after the fires. Walter, his foundation, and the LA Dodgers Foundation are going to provide up to $100 million to jumpstart fundraising. Governor Newsom said, quote, Los Angeles will rise again, stronger, more united, and more resilient than ever. Now, there's also this idea that there will be a quick effort to rebuild swiftly. And I know everybody wants that, and I'm going to be a broken record on this. I think we should be realistic in our expectation. If you've seen the devastation, if you've seen the total loss of infrastructure in such communities as Altadena, it's not going to be a swift anything. And if you want to predicate your future anger or your future critique on the ineffectiveness of our government leaders by how quickly this does not happen, then you just don't understand. And that's why I'm going to hammer home this point. This is not going to be a quick rebuild, if only because it's going to take a while to first clear the debris, make sure these spaces are safe, and then the rebuilding process begins. And there are different facets to the rebuilding. There's the rebuilding of businesses, which is going to follow one track. And that's a different track from people trying to rebuild their lives and homes. This LA Rises rebuilding effort is not going to be about primarily getting people their houses back. It doesn't work that way. The process is different. You're dealing with insurance companies. You're dealing with liability. You're dealing with different timetables as far as how people can rebuild their lives. And I say this as someone who saw New York in the year after 9/11. I say this as someone who saw New Orleans a year after Katrina and 5 years after Katrina. We can point all the fingers we want at civic leaders and say they failed or they did not keep their end of the bargain, or they did not meet the moment. All those typical cliche phrases. I'm telling you, in a best case scenario, this is going to take years. It's going to take years. You're not just rebuilding neighborhoods. You're rebuilding businesses. You're rebuilding infrastructure. You are rebuilding lives, and that happens at different rates of speed. And I know we would love to be able to drive down, Orange Grove Avenue and not see the embers and not see the burned out places, or drive down Pacific Coast Highway and not see the remnants of what was Pacific Palisades. I get that. But I remember going to New Orleans 5 years after Katrina, and you could still see the remnants of that destruction. And you can say, well, blame that on Mayor Nagin, or whoever was mayor at the time, or Governor Landrieu, whoever's governor at the time. If you think it's just about politics, then you may not really understand how much of an effort this is going to be. And it's not going to be something which happens overnight. It's not something that is about just throwing as much money as you can at it. It's going to be something which is going to be a struggle every step of the way, regardless of how many speeches and dollar bills you throw at it, it's not going to be that way. And so all I can do is just temper someone's anger right now. Because if you have the expectation that Pacific Palisades and Altadena and these other areas are going to look like what we thought they were or remembered them to be 2 months ago, and you expect to see that in a year or even 2 years or even 3 years, being completely honest, you're deluding yourself.
You know, looking at this, one thing that I don't seem to see anywhere within this press statement is how they are going to bring back the businesses that were in place that are gone, because it is one thing to build back some of the properties where some of these businesses were. I don't see anything in here where they are going to make it mandatory where once they build back up these properties, that those property owners, where many of these heritage businesses in Altadena had been leasing their properties for the longest, are going to be able to return. Fox's, Steve's Pets, you know, the Altadena hardware store, all these places where these are people who may have been renting the property or renting the property to open up a business, but they may not actually own the property. And this is something that it's one thing to bring business back to Altadena. I know Magic Johnson is really good for launching businesses, successful businesses. But what Altadena does not need is a Starbucks and
movie theater
and a movie theater and this, that, and the other. It's not about that. It is about the businesses that were established there. Are they getting guarantees that they will come back? This is something that I'm looking for in a press release like this.
And there's something else, and it's highlighted in the story. I just want to amplify it. It makes a distinction. You mentioned Altadena. That's L.A. County. So what L.A. County is going to do to restore L.A. County may be very different and a different timeline than what Karen Bass is trying to do for L.A. City, which is inclusive of Pacific Palisades. And you're not going to be able to judge Pacific Palisades against Altadena and vice versa for a number of reasons. One, Altadena suffered far more damage. Let's tell the truth. Pacific Palisades is under the jurisdiction of the city of LA and Mayor Karen Bass. Altadena's not. They're dealing with LA County Board of Supervisors and LA County more generally. So this is going to be uneven in a variety of ways. And these areas within our city and county are not all going to come back at the same time. And none of it is coming back anytime soon. None of it. I don't care what anyone tells you. I don't care about how optimistic they may sound or they're going to say during press conferences, we're going to let them back in tomorrow. That stuff did not happen. Okay. And it can't happen because there are some legitimate obstacles to any of that happening, and you cannot rush it. It's not because people are dragging their feet or they're unwilling to let the money flow to accommodate it, to accomplish it. No, it's just a function of there's only so quickly that you can actually clear a debris field. There's only so quickly that you can make it where it's not hazardous and dangerous for people to walk around. Yeah, people walking around in hazmat suits because of the gas and toxicity of the environment. Yes, people have the right to return, but it doesn't mean that it is safe for them to either live there or start the rebuilding process. It's not going to happen quickly. And what bothers me is I see these unrealistic expectations being put out there because it's almost like they know what people want to hear. Mm-hmm. And they're giving them what people want to hear, not telling them the truth about what they need to hear and need to know. Because right now, I know everyone wants to have a positive message. You want to have a hopeful message. You want to be able to inspire people that Altadena is going to come all the way back. Pacific Palisades is going to become back. It's going to be coming back. We're going to build it up bigger than and better than ever before. It's going to like none of this ever happened. And you got to stop telling those lies. I have to say that they're lies because you know better. If you know anything about how a city actually works and what a rebound from a tragedy and disaster is like, you can't just keep telling people these platitudes thinking that just because that's what they want to hear is that's what you should be telling them. Because if anything, they're going to be even more angry because they're going to remember how you said on your stump that we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's going to take only so long and it's going to be better than ever before. You make these unrealistic promises that you can't possibly keep. Or maybe you're thinking like, well, that's 4 years from now. I don't have to worry about that. I don't know what it is. I'm just telling you. This is not going to be a quick turnaround, and it's not going to be because of lack of money. No, I'm quite sure the LA Risers Group will be able to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. That will not be the issue. The issue is the people who are displaced. We're talking about personal residences, which is different than rebuilding the functionality of a city. Rebuilding post offices or rebuilding strip malls. You had the best point, I think, of the night, Twala, when you talk about the businesses which were occupying these edifices, did not own the businesses, but their businesses are gone because the edifice is gone.
Yeah. I think when I see press statements like this, it speaks to the hope and the promise, but it is light on the facts and reality. And that's what is so disheartening. There are so many efforts out and about to rebuild, whether it's having people stand in line 3 and 4 hours for a $250 gift card, or the promise of rebuilding Altadena with this, fundraising effort here. And I say again, if Magic Johnson, who has the ear of city leaders and Casey Wasserman and Mark Walter, if they want to do something philanthropic, they could pull their power and say, we are going to bring advocates, we are going to bring attorneys, we are going to bring individuals into the city to help each and every one of you. We're going to put our money up to help each and every one of you navigate this red tape to make you whole, because that is the biggest hurdle of the citizens of Altadena. That's the biggest hurdle that they're facing. It is not trying to carve out time in the day to go and get supplies and to go and get this donation or that donation. It is when you get back to the hotel that you're staying at right now. It is when you're getting back to wherever Airbnb or wherever you're at right now. What are you doing looking at the future moving forward? There isn't enough of that. A lot of town halls where a lot of aimless questions are thrown out, not a lot of answers. These are individuals who, if you really want to put your philanthropic efforts to good use, do that. Help the people by getting them everything they need to make themselves whole. Don't come in just saying, hey, we're going to build back businesses that many of your businesses won't even be there anymore. Don't do that.
It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We have more information to tell you about FireAid, which is coming up on Thursday. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
But Nick Pagliocchini had just walked in the studio with a bunch of food, just trying to tease me, trying to bring in all these pastries and just dangle them in front of me like trying to have a better diet. He's trying to make it more difficult on me. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening, Mo. Are you watching you have a great figure and you're incredible. But I was gonna, you're welcome, sweetheart. But I'm going to say, no, with your hip keto, right? No,
hop keto.
Okay. I tried.
I'm not trying to eat pastries every damn day, and you're bringing in pastries and pizza
of course, because we're going to celebrate Lunar New Year, but we'll get to that a little bit later tonight.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out why you got to bring in to show all the wares.
I do, because I want you to eat it now. No, you can eat it now. I just need to come in here so that I can share with everybody on Instagram. Nick Pagliocchini this weekend with Nick. So there you go.
Okay, if that's how you want to tell the story.
There you go.
Anyhow, since we're talking about pastries, Randy's Donuts. And let's say you are a Randy's Donuts fan like me. I am. Well, put it this way. I'm a fan of the Inglewood location. I have to be very specific. But, people the world over love Randy's Donuts. It's iconic. They have a FireAid donut, which, of course, is named after the FireAid benefit concert taking place in Inglewood on Thursday. We just told you about that, and we'll tell you more about it as the night goes on. But it's a raised donut featuring vanilla icing, red sprinkles, and a red heart symbolizing unity and care for those who were impacted by the fires. And the FireAid donut itself is available for purchase starting tomorrow. And it only costs $5. If you're wondering about the participating locations, and I got to say, Nick, and you may appreciate this, I don't know if Tuala is a Randy's fan, but I didn't know that there were this many locations of Randy's.
It's funny because it really has blown up. Like, truly. Because the one that you and I have been going to for years is the one in Inglewood that you're talking about.
That's right, on Manchester.
But not too far away is the one in El Segundo, which is poppin' and is very, very fancy. So it's like we've got to run the gamut of like the OG with it in Inglewood with a big old donut on top.
Big ass donut.
You know this. It's iconic. This is part of the skyline, even though it's way down in Inglewood. It is part of the SoCal and the LA skyline.
Inglewood.
But yeah, I mean, so you got El Segundo. What other locations are there?
You have the Downey location, 8721 Firestone Boulevard. Costa Mesa, 2930 Harbor Boulevard.
So even Orange County is in on the action.
Oh, yes.
So there you go.
Tuala, Pasadena, 230 South Lake Avenue.
Wait a minute. Since when is there a Randy's? Oh, there is. Yeah.
I'm just reading the story. Santa Monica, 829 Wilshire Boulevard. Culver City, 4114 Sepulveda Boulevard. El Segundo, 2181 Rosecrans Boulevard. Torrance, I didn't know there was one in Torrance. 330 Hawthorne Boulevard. Let's see where that is.
It's brand new. It's right before you get to like when you start going up to the PV.
No, I know. I'm thinking in my mind, I know what the street looks like because I'm always driving down Hawthorne when I'm down there.
Yeah, they just put it up probably like a year and a half ago.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That's new to me. Burbank, 3007 North Hollywood Way. North Hollywood, 4805 Vineland Avenue. Riverside, 3519 Van Buren Boulevard. And San Diego, 3737 Murphy Canyon Road. So basically, wherever you can find Randy's Donuts, you will probably be able to get a FireAid donut. And if you didn't know, as we were talking with Nick Pagliocchini, the flagship Inglewood location opened in 1952, and that's the location for me. That's the reference point for me. And it has expanded all across Los Angeles, and it's now in Orange County, the Inland Empire, and the San Diego area. 2 more locations will soon open in Tucky, according to the Randy store locator. Fresno.
Wait, I'm sorry. I was like Tucky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fresno.
Not to be confused with Fontucky, which is a little closer. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Randy's has also moved out of state. They have 4 shops in Las Vegas and another 4 in the Phoenix metropolitan area. The chain has also opened up 8 locations in South Korea. I did not see any when I was in South Korea. But of course, I was not looking for it. A bunch of 7-Elevens. But I didn't see any Randy's Donuts. There are 2 in Saudi Arabia and 11 in the Philippines. And they're going to also open a shop in Mexico City. Back in November, they announced plans to open 50 stores across Japan. Donuts, I guess, do well in Japan. 50. And of course, all for the benefit of those who've been impacted by the fires, and as a part of FireAid. Go get your FireAid donut to help support them. And we'll tell you more about FireAid when we come back. It's later with Mo Kelly. And also Starbucks. They're back in the news, and probably not for good reasons. We're live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And Starbucks is, I wonder who's running the marketing department. I wonder who's in charge of publicity, because it seems like they keep stepping in it voluntarily. When was the last time some good news came out about Starbucks? And it's not like I have a dog in the fight. I don't even drink coffee. I don't even go to Starbucks. I have no reason to go there. But Starbucks is back in the news. They're going to add panic buttons in stores to kick out what are being termed as laptop lurkers and loiterers. We told you a couple weeks ago that there was a new set of store rules where you can't just lounge around Starbucks anymore. You have to buy something or get out. The next obvious question is, well, if you don't buy anything and you're not willing to get out, what is Starbucks going to do? What we know now is these are actual buttons which have been installed at least in a handful of stores for what is deemed as a trial period to see if they help keep the location safe and comfortable for people who are actually spending money. Here's my question, and Starbucks has not made clear how the buttons will work. They're not saying whether it will place a call to law enforcement like a panic button would be at a bank. They're not exactly saying whether it means that some other security element. I don't know if you can have security at Starbucks now like you do in other places, whether a security person will come over and nudge you on the shoulders like, hey, time's up, you got to leave. But if they don't want to escalate a situation, it probably would have been better to just leave well enough alone. The moment someone comes over and taps me or taps you or taps someone else on the shoulder and says, and most likely is going to embarrass you in front of other people. Excuse me, Mr. O'Kelly, you're going to have to leave now, or you're going to have to purchase something or leave. You're going to have another incident just like you did years ago when those African-American gentlemen were put out of Starbucks for seemingly pretty much the exact same damn thing. They said then that they were waiting on someone for a meeting. Is there going to be a clock? Is it going to be like what they used to do when you parked your car? They would chalk your tire and come back around in an hour. And if you haven't moved your car or purchased something, then they're going to hit the panic button. And usually panic button means escalation. Means that you're going to go from not having an incident to having an incident. Because if you feel that you need to push a button as opposed to, excuse me, Mr. Sharp, is there anything that you would like to purchase? I see that you've been here a while. I was wondering, were you ready to make your order? And if Mr. Sharp were to say, no, I'm just here, using the Wi-Fi. I got this paper I got to write for class. Then you can tell that person, sorry, we do not have a loitering. We're not allowed to loiter here. We need you to get your black ass out now. Please leave.
The only problem, Mo, is you already know.
I know.
This button is going to be abused, and it is only going to be used to target specific individuals who are causing a panic. I mean, calling a panic button alone, that's huge. That's that's a huge leap.
It's not like they should have named it like the assistance button or the call button like they have on an airplane. Boo.
Yes.
And then you have the flight attendant come over and, can I help you?
It will be just like the incident that you referred to where the individuals walked in. They walked in and sat down, and that Starbucks manager called the police immediately.
Sure did.
She panicked, and she said this. I panicked when they walked in because I didn't know what they were there for. I was worried that they may have been up to something.
To be fair, they could have been there to rob, rape, and kill and steal in front of everyone else. You just never know.
Everyone there with their computer bags and their sitting down quietly waiting for a meeting. Yes, like everyone else in there. But no, this panic button is going to be used for anyone. And I get it. Look, I went and I got some food today from an establishment that allows individuals to just kind of chill. And there was someone in there that had all of his belongings in the restaurant with him. God bless. I don't know what this individual
an unhoused person or what?
He was seemingly unhoused. The amount of stuff that he had with him and the cart that he had outside waiting to move it around. He had the look of the unhoused. Okay.
This is so easy. I don't get it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is so easy. You don't need to go to these lengths. You can make it very simple. You can put up a sign saying, hey, well, like you do at McDonald's. You're allowed to sit and use the booth for like an hour or something. And after that, if you're not going to make a purchase, they'll ask you to leave. It's real simple. So the rules are clear to everyone. And it's inarguable. You can tell by the tape, the security, who walks in where. And if you enforce it uniformly, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're going to leave it up to Barista Sue or Johnny or Chad to make a decision about who gets booted out and who doesn't, and that's the problem. When you get to allow some people to stay, and if you're a regular at Starbucks, you know who the regulars are, who's sitting there for hours, and they buy one cup of coffee for 4 freaking hours. And then you want to tell this other person to leave because they didn't buy a cup of coffee over 45 minutes. That's how you get in problem. And and you're installing something. So this is not a secret. Everybody knows you're doing this. Everybody knows what Starbucks is up to. If you want to ruin your brand publicly, knock yourself out. I'm not going to get in the way of it. I don't even shop at Starbucks. So do your worst, Starbucks. I'm just saying this is a bad look, and enjoy the bad look.
It is a bad look overall. I just think that this is going to play out across businesses, across the gamut. I don't think this begins and ends with Starbucks. I think every business is going to start saying, we need a panic button. At In-N-Out, we need a panic button. At Fat Burgers and Randy's Donuts and everywhere else.
This is where I disagree with you. We got to go to break. The negative pushback on this and the negative publicity because of this, because they've already had a really bad incident which scarred their brand years ago, this will tell every other business, don't do this. Don't go down this path.
Yeah, you're forgetting the time that we're living in.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying I think they value money over anything. And we'll see.
All these businesses that are cutting out DEI practices that don't care about the bad look.
We shall see. But I think that if Starbucks takes it on the chin just hard enough, people will stay away from it. KFI AM 640, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Prepare to be stimulated. KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles.
Orange County.
Live.